Good morning. Welcome to this week's episode of Elevate Your Coaching Business. And today I'm not on my own. I have my friend Lorna with me. Hey, Lorna.
Hi, hello everybody.
So I actually brought Lorna on because she's a genius when it comes to money. And look, we know that there's so much talk out there about, like financial freedom and like 10K months. And especially in our industry, the coaching industry, it's everywhere, right? And not only is it everywhere, but you've got people in two camps. You've got people that are like, this is a load of shite and please stop talking about it because it's dangerous. There's no strategies. It's not guaranteed, etc., etc. And then there's the other camp where it's like, you get to operate on possibilities and you work towards what you want. If you're willing to put in the effort, you can create it. So, me, we like to have a chat about it from all different aspects. So I thought I'd bring Lorna on today and actually let's go into it deep and let's like have a real raw and honest conversation about it. And, let's bust through some myths and let's also have like a reality check about, if this is something that you want, what it's going to take. But Lorna, do you want to introduce yourself before we even get into the thick of it?
I'm Lorna Poole. I'm an IPEX certified coach and I support established coaches and service-based entrepreneurs to start their investment journey, to build assets, to create the wealth and financial freedom they desire so they secure their financial future and live life on their terms. Um, it's it's interesting because who doesn't want to live freely, And like I think one of the when you think about history or anything, freedom is just everything. It's everything. The freedom to be you, the freedom to be free internally, the freedom to live as you want to live.
Mm. But yeah, when it comes to finances, there's a stigma.
Yes. Yes.
And I'll even say, I'm even going to be controversial and say, particularly here in Ireland, because for years, like even if you look at the way the market goes or like, the way like the recession, the economy goes, it goes up and down. But unfortunately, when it goes down, it starts to create a huge amount of fear in people. And the scarcity, I think, that we have here in Ireland in terms of our mentality about how we think about things really blocks the ability to actually have that wealth. Because if I've heard it once, I've heard it, I don't know how many times, and it drives my brain bananas because I'm this like big picture person and I get excited by beautiful things. And I don't mean like luxury things, but as in like the colors like that are like even as here as I'm looking out of the field, they're things that excite me. I don't like when somebody tries to dampen that in my mind, but yet we do that. Like I know I've been raised like that. Not it like not like from a purposeful, intentional way of thinking from the way that I was raised, but I was raised like that as in, mind your pennies, make sure that you save X amount of your money, don't be buying luxury things. And if you did, you were told you had notions.
There's shame. There's shame. Yeah, no
Hey,
shame.
notions. You got some notions. Who do you think you are doing that? And like I was raised like that. And again, not with the purposeful, intentional, like to shut you down. It was like from not knowing any different. And I understand that like our parents were raised particular ways, Um, but the world isn't like that anymore. We have so many opportunities, right?
It's very historic in European history, um, to be frugal and not spend your money and mind your pennies and wars. Like it's so like I
Okay.
remember when I went and lived in the States in 2010, if I said I wanted to fly a rocket to the moon, they'd be like, yeah, go do it. You don't get that here. It's just our culture's different, and definitely was something I had to very much work through. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. I find it really uncomfortable actually because I love going to America. Like
Yeah.
I love it and I love it for this reason and I'm not afraid to say it
Yeah.
because like that my brain doesn't operate based on like don't tell me there's a limit with something because I'll prove you wrong. I can't cope with that. Like even when I was younger, if I was told I couldn't do something, I'm like, you want to bet? Like, don't tell me I can't do something. And for me, the limitation is just it makes me uncomfortable. And I know we mentioned the word shame already, but I used to feel guilty for wanting more. I used to feel guilty for even looking at other ways. And I actually just wouldn't even talk to people about it because nobody here understood it. Yeah, when I was in America or like even around my American friends, like you said, it was like, okay, let's do it. It's not like you can't do it. It's the mindset of, okay, let's do it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Same with my experience. And because I was always this girl that was like wanted to play outside the box. Don't tell me I have to live this way and do this that way. And that's the way it's supposed to be and I'm supposed to accept it, like that was like a complete no-no to me. And I in my younger years, I traveled the world and I used to seek other ways to live. And thank God I did.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And for anyone that's watching this, I'd love to know if you're resonating with this. Well, it doesn't matter which camp you're in, right? Because there's no right or wrong with this, but I would love to know who's resonating with this. But like, obviously, the purpose why I brought you on today is because I really want to get into like the nitty gritty with this around financial freedom. And like, I want to share a little bit around my own story. So I went from being in like a pretty good 5-figure job with the bonus to not even being able to pay my mortgage. Like that was the scariest thing for me as a single parent. That was the scariest thing for me. And it was the first time I'd ever gone into the possibility of scarcity. And it scared the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. I remember being bawling my eyes on the phone to the bank because I was so embarrassed that I was in this situation. But what was causing more embarrassment was the fact that I was a single parent in this situation and I didn't want to be that, you know, like labeled as a single parent who couldn't afford to pay her bills. That's where my mindset was going. And it honestly took me, I'd say probably about 3 or 4 weeks for me to shift that mindset around to go, okay, this is my current situation. Does it get to be my continued reality? Because I had a choice to make. I could either have this be like my reality forever, or I could actually get off my arse and do something about it and look at it differently. And I'm so glad that I did. I got support to be able to do that, but I'm so glad that I did. And I always share that story because I think it's very relatable for people that we do have times when we're like in the down and out. And the thoughts of financial freedom is like so far beyond the realms of what's even you can even think about. That's where I feel that it comes into play of like, well, you can't do this. Why would you be thinking like that? Just focus and like on the here and now. Like make sure that you're looking after your pennies. And I think for me, I think that this is where the myth comes about that you can't have financial freedom because it's based on the current reality that you have. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, completely. And you'll never create anything in your life unless you believe there's a belief of a possibility because you
Mhm.
won't even seek it to even make it your reality.
Yeah.
And we live in a great time where there's multiple ways to have wealth and financial freedom. It's not like generations ago where you had a pension and you lived till a certain age and Bob's your uncle and there you go. Like we we get to live our life to our full potential and we get to have our money to support us in doing that. And there's many ways to do that. Um, but yes, I've definitely gone through that journey as well. But what I've learned on that journey is when something comes up that is that big, where I'm like, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to, I get to grow.
Mm.
I get to become something more than I was before. And I remember going through a rock bottom stage of my life. And I remember when I was really in the shit, should I say. I remember I remember the breakthrough was when when the pain of moving forward was less than the pain of staying where we are, I changed my life. And that's always what I will say when somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm going through this, Lorna. Like I have a client right now who's 200,000 in debt. And um so we do the plan to help him get out of that. And what was interesting was he didn't realize that he could I was like, okay, now let's get start creating wealth. Let's start work focusing. He didn't realize that's possible for him. So a lot of us think like, you know, I go back to this because I think it's so powerful. Life is messy for
Mm.
all of us. Nobody's immune to having, everything perfect. We're going to go through stuff. And what I realize in my journey of teaching people and my own journey with money is sometimes money is messy,
Yeah.
you know? And be okay with that. Make peace with that. Like that was huge. When I made peace with that, like if you think back over your life, money always shows up.
Yeah.
You always figure it out. And the difference between the person who's creating the wealth and financial freedom and the person who's not is they're just, no matter where you are with your money, just do those wealthy habits. Like it always comes back to who are you being? How are you showing up with your money? And how are you giving it direction? And when you come from that space, you'll change your life with money.
Mm, mm.
You will change your life with money.
I saw a video yesterday. I can't remember who it was, and they were talking about they'd done a study on the brain, so they'd actually like scanned the brains with from like thought process. So for anyone that thinks that mindset is bullshit, pay attention to this, right? I must actually see if I can find the video because I just thought it was really insightful. And they studied a person for 72 hours. For 24 hours, their brain was being monitored and they were thinking positive things about themselves and their life, right? So it was in all areas of their life and they were reaffirming thought wise and out loud positive things. Even if they hadn't happened yet, they were still saying, I know what's coming, I know this is happening, it's already emotion, etc., etc. And the brain expanded. They did the same thing and asked this person to speak really poorly about themselves, like bitch and moan about their life, bitch and moan about like everything that was going wrong, and look at it from that point of view through that like that lens of like, oh poor me, woe me, and the brain shrunk. And what he was saying was when you think consistent negative thoughts, because there is always a chain, one thought is going to lead to at least 7 to 10 more. So you're constantly reaffirming whatever it is you're reaffirming, but your brain is actually reacting to it. I thought that was fascinating. The fact that there was like scientific studies done on this to see how impactful your words and your thoughts actually are on the functionality of your brain.
Well, when you've gone through stuff, you really notice the difference in your, like, I notice the difference. Like, Lorna, that was 5 years ago, would be knocked out for 6 months over something, maybe even a year. Lorna now can kind of turn it around in an hour.
Mm,
And like your body shifts, like you can feel
mm,
it. Like you can feel when you feel off.
mm,
Like I can feel that I'm like, and I always feel everybody has a go-to. Mine is I get depressed and lonely. They're my go-to. And I know this.
mm,
I know how to counteract it. I reach out for support. I go for a walk or I'm disconnected from nature is usually or running exercise helps.
yeah.
So knowing yourself, I think, is huge because we do have that primitive brain that
Mm,
has a negative bias. And what shifts your life is always what's going on the inside. And by the way, I'd love access. That study sounds fabulous.
yeah,
Um, um, but I love that you're bringing here to the call that there is scientific evidence to back what I know I've gone through on an emotional level myself.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it puts it into a different perspective, I think, because we can talk about this as being fluff or woo woo, but when there's science behind it, it's kind of hard to deny it. Um,
Facts.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, because a fact is something that's a reality, not just for you, but for other people too, and it's 100% of the time. So, yeah, and I think like one of the things that I did want you to touch on is like the myths around that everyone can have financial freedom. Like, what are the facts and the stats around that?
I don't know the stats. The facts, the facts. The facts is everybody. Yes, well, I don't have stats as such, but what I can tell you from my own journey is it's more possible than people believe it to be.
Hmm.
Because some of the myths people have is I need a lot of money to be wealthy. Um,
Yeah.
no, you don't. You just need to get resourceful and put your focus there.
Mm,
Also, another kind of myth that people have is I need a lot to be financially free.
mm,
Not necessarily either. Um, like most people, if they could cover their basic bills, pay their rent, and put food on the table, and it's coming from their money working for them, would feel a lot more freedom. And it's a lot more possible than that number is than people think it is. Now, if you want, you know, like real true financial freedom, maybe 10,000 per month or whatever, it's more doable than people think it is. The myth is like financial, we're not taught in school what to do with our money.
mm.
Mm. our parents' school is designed that you go get a job, you work, you go through the system, and you pay your bills, right? So it's a shift in how you think about how you operate with money.
Mm,
Because if you don't put your focus there, you're not going to make it your reality.
mm,
And it's more doable. Like there's been shifts in the financial industry and that like John Bogle came along and created trackers, which means the retail investor, which is you and I, can get into investing on very low amounts of money. And, for years that was very untouchable.
yeah.
So the key secret is knowing like being in true with your money now and where it is, and then knowing, well, what is a financial freedom? What is my financial freedom number? What is my timeline? And what do I need to put there to make that reality? And it really is like anything in life, like increasing your income, finding your perfect boyfriend, a healthy diet. Like you take steps towards it daily.
Mm,
I don't care if you tell me you're on social welfare. I guarantee you can create financial freedom because it's like anything, Joanne. It's like, who do I get to be to make this my reality? Like, people for years have come from all sorts of things and turned their life around, and you just get to do it with money.
yeah. Yeah.
But
And
I don't know the specific stats now. But
and
that's
there may not even have been a study done on it yet, right? Because it's still something that is still seen as that only the wealthy can do, or that you need to be of either a certain class or a certain education or like come from a particular background or have access to a certain amount of funds, which from what you're saying is not true. So like where if somebody's like looking at this and they're like, okay, right, I'm getting committed, this is something I really want to know how to do because I'm not willing to keep going the way that I'm going, where do you start?
you always start with where my money is now. So when you think about wealth, there's income, there's expenses, there's assets, liabilities. So most people focus on income, 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 income. But what happens to people is the more money comes in, the more that's going out. Okay. So it's got to be redirected. So you start with putting your money to work. And the beautiful thing about 2024 is the average person can put in very little and get going. Okay. And one of the best places to start is you put in your foundation. So what is great for that is index trackers because they're low fees, they're self-cleansing, they're diversified, and then it's about following a model which has you, if the economy goes down, COVID hits, inflation, da 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 da, all those things that people have got caught out by. Um, if you know the asset classes to be in, right? Um, you can put that foundation in with index trackers.
Mm-hmm,
And then as your knowledge grows, you can do things like property, like a physical property. You can
mm-hmm,
do things like direct shares in companies. Then the next level to that is investing in businesses and things like that. And like, but you can put in that foundation and then you can build on that as your risk tolerance comes up or, that you have those fundamentals. And a big thing about creating wealth is actually protecting your wealth. So one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't put in the merged funds, the cash safety nets, whatever something big happens in their life, they go through a divorce or their business goes bust, they're robbing what they've spent 10, 20 years building up.
mm-hmm.
So
When you say very little, that you start with very little to put in, what like define that? Because
yeah.
that little to me might be little to somebody else, like it's big to somebody else. So what's little?
So it's, for example, if you're in the UK, you can make your first investment £100.
Oh,
If you're in the US, similar. In Ireland, you want 1,000 because the platform fees are a lot higher, and we buy there's a thing called, so not to get too technical on the call, there's things called index trackers, mutual funds, and exchange trader funds. In Ireland, we have to buy exchange trader funds. They have a little slightly higher fees because they get bought and sold on the stock exchange. So knowing things like that. Because in the UK, so in Ireland, So I'll share this with you as well. I'll share the asset classes and I'll share a little bit about the accounts that you're going to invest in as well. So if you're investing ideally, you're investing in tax-free account, you're tax deferred and discretionary. Okay.
Mhm.
So you'll hear things like DeGero, 212, whatever the trading platforms are. They're what you would call a discretionary platform, which means the government come along and tax, capital gains income tax, right? Your tax deferred is like your retirement account. If you're investing for yourself, you're looking to invest in a self-invested um account. Okay, because you get to pick what's in there. Um, and then there's tax-free. Now, tax-free accounts are not available in Europe. They're not in Ireland, but they are in the UK and the US and Canada is another country they're in. You get to utilize all them. Okay, so these are the kind of things you gotta know.
Mhm.
Um, and also there's an entrepreneur part of wealth creation as well. Like years ago, they would put their money in a pension, the pension would provide them. That's not today. Okay. Um, so you want to be utilizing what's available to you in your country. And then you want to be thinking things like physical property,
Mhm.
um, for diversification, all that kind of stuff as well. So when you think about wealth creation, what we're talking about is um so there's five core asset classes, right? Not to get too technical, equity, property or real estate, depending what part of the world you're in, right? Um, Gold, cash, and what's the other one I'm thinking of? Fixed income, right? They're the kind of five core ones. So they play a different role depending what's going on in the world. So equity and property grow,
Mhm.
fixed income are steady, gold holds its value. So when COVID hit, it held its value. And cash is quick liquidating, right?
Mhm.
So um, these are the kind of things that protect you because a certain things go on in the world. So you want your assets also, if you plan your investments well, okay, when you know what your financial freedom numbers, you can draw down sustainably at 8%. Okay. And the way to do that well is you have a certain bulk of your assets always growing. So you create that generational wealth, right? You're never eating into this and you're drawing down off your 8%. Okay. There's such things as what they call tangible and intangible assets, and they play a different role as well, such as if you have a house and say there's a property crash, it takes six months to 1 year to buy your house, whereas you can press a button on your computer for your index trackers, for example. So these are the kind of things people need to know about. It's more doable than people think it is, and it's more simplified than people think it is. And that's what I'm known for, making wealth creation simple to everyday people because I did not come from a financial background. I came from an experience within my home that I realized my mother very much depended on my dad for money. And when he passed away, there was nothing in place, and that was pure left to chance. And a lot of women do this. And even as coaches and entrepreneurs, we're so busy working on the income that we can end up a little bit on the income train. And this is something we will get to, you know. So um and why did we start our business? Because we want to be free to live how we want to live and do what we want to do. So why not put that money to work?
Yeah, well, especially when you know how, right? Because I think, to be fair, most people don't know how. They know how to bring in money and they know how to spend money, but they don't know what to do with their money. I think that's probably the key thing, is knowing what to do. Because I didn't know, like, other than, putting savings into a bank account, or, or like probably down the line doing property investment. Outside of that, I hadn't a notion, as we like to say over here, what the possibilities were, until the doors, yeah, started opening up there about 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know I could do this as a layperson. So, yeah, I love that you're talking about that. But will you share a little bit as well? You have a boot camp that's coming up that people pay attention to, because this is something that you want. Lorna is a wealth of knowledge. She came in and did a piece for my masterminders there about a month ago. And it was like gold. Like it was just incredible. She's incredibly knowledgeable. So if you're listening to this going, I know nothing about this and I want to, take it away, Lorna. Tell them about your bootcamp.
Yeah, there's a boot camp coming up with starting next Monday. It's called Financial Freedom Boot Camp. It's about mastering money, building wealth, and setting yourself up for that freedom you desire. So it it's designed to help you and support you on how you show up with money so that you're setting yourself up securely for the future and your money supports you to live now. And that camp is starting on the this Monday, so the 16th. And yeah, if you're a coach and service-based entrepreneur and you'd love, and even, a lot of coaches come to me as well, is getting their business in the right place so that they can support their wealth. So we do that also, just so you know. And that's what I'm going to be teaching over the couple of days. We're going to start the first day on your relationship with money, and then it goes into how you take care of your money, because wealth is created from what you do with it, not what you bring in. Um,
Ooh, say that again.
Wealth is created from what you do with it and not what you bring in. And that was a big aha for me,
Mm.
you know. Um, and then I'm going to show you what to invest in and how to go about it. Yeah, so
Nice.
that's that.
I'm going. I put the link into the chat there for everybody too, and it's in the description as well. So yeah, definitely check this out because I can tell you it's game changer when you realize that there's other possibilities out there for you. Like, even if you're just at the starting block and you're like, I didn't even know that this was a thing, like it was possible. Pay attention because, like the world has changed so much that we have so much more at our fingertips than what we had before. And like there's so many resources, there's so many opportunities for us to be able to create whatever it is that we want. But it just requires you just to open your mind a little bit and have a look and listen and pay attention to what's happening and then make decisions about, what you're going to do about it. Are you going to do something about it or not? And I think Lorna's bootcamp is a great place to start if this is something that you're super curious about. So Lorna, thank you for that. The link is there in the chat and I've tagged Lorna in this too. So feel free to connect with her. Thank you, Lorna.